Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Recovery Talks. This is your mobile meeting, and we are continuing our guide through the 12 steps today with Step 5. Step 5 is often called the confession step. So in Step 4, we made an inventory. We took stock of our lives and certain things that contributed to our drinking or addiction. And in Step 5, now's the time that we go over this inventory with another human being. And so Step 5, what does it say exactly? It says admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Ooh, scary. Well, I can tell you that from my experience, this step, in fact, was quite scary at the beginning of it, and I did actually have a physical reaction to the level of fear that I had with becoming so vulnerable with another person by sharing so honestly and thoroughly with them about my life. Now, I had to build a relationship with my sponsor who heard it before this, and so that was pretty helpful. And so I think there's a lot to be said about being careful when you select who will hear your fourth step. Okay, so under no circumstance, in my opinion, should it be a family member or a best friend or anybody like that. I recommend definitely a therapist or a sponsor. And I think it's better to have it be somebody you've known for a little while in recovery, somebody who you believe you can trust, because you are going to be sharing some, very intimate details about your life. And you also should get an idea of what kind of a person they are, because you don't want to be, doing your fifth step and then have them insult you or something like that during this really delicate, sensitive time. So what I can tell you about my experience with this is that this step actually was very powerful. There wasn't much to it except reading what I had written. Sorry, I'm sanitizing my hands, if you can hear that. This is in the middle of the coronavirus 2020 pandemic. So what I can say is that, this is very powerful. Although it didn't entail a whole lot. The first time I did it, it wasn't much more than just reading what I had written to this person. And the effect afterward was that all of these resentments, fears, and secrets, they had such powerful, they were so powerful in skewing my perception and disconnecting me with myself, with my body, with reality. And I had no idea that this was the case until after I had gotten it all out. And I heard a really interesting analogy or metaphor, I forget which one is which, about how this works. And basically, well, let's see, I guess these days maybe people wouldn't understand it as much, but if you've ever had a television set that had antennas, and you could move the antenna and the screen would get more clear, that's sort of the effect that this step had on my ability to see the truth and to see reality as it really was. And so after I did this step, that's kind of what happened. It was like somebody had come and adjusted the antenna, and so that the screen, my view of reality was clear, and I could see. And oftentimes in 12-step programs, we used the word right-sized. And I felt right-sized for once in my life. I didn't feel inferior. I didn't feel superior. And I didn't feel toxic, ashamed, like I had that feeling. So that was a really nice thing. It was the first time that I really buried myself to another human being. And it was the first time I didn't, I don't know how much closer I felt to my sponsor after that, but I know that he had a lot of insight into me. And I've done that step, multiple times with multiple different types of sponsors. I've done a step, one time I did a 5th step, it took me 11 hours. And the guy who listened to that was a champion. But funny enough, though, he's not my friend anymore, so I don't know what happened. I can tell you that is that's the one of the first. Another way to think of it is it's one of the first steps toward really taking responsibility for my life in a tangible way, because it's the first time that I'm admitting to somebody in a way that isn't like manipulative or I don't have an agenda other than I'm following the steps. I want to be honest and thorough, and I want to change my life and fix my life, and I'm admitting my mistakes, and this is exactly the place where I can make some changes in my life. As we go through in recovery, we do this step again, on a day by day basis. And this isn't a step that is like one and done. I continued to do this 5th step, and it gave me the ability to be as honest as I had to be, needed to be, and 100% honest on a daily basis, so that I could so that I wouldn't go back down that path where the way reality was obscured from me, by my resentments, by my fears, by my shame and guilt, by secrets. And so whenever I can get honest, I can get back in touch with reality. And I've often thought and shared that I think honesty is probably the most powerful tool that we have in recovery. The ability to be 100% honest, or as honest as you can be. 100% honest is as honest as you possibly can be. And this is, I have to say that because there are some times when we can't see what we're being dishonest about because we hide it from ourselves. But with this step, we get the practice of being vulnerable with somebody, and that allows us to bring people into our lives, into that space where we have those blind spots. Okay? And once we can invite people into that space where we have those blind spots, we can start to have these kinds of relationships with mentors and spiritual guides and sponsors, and even intimate partners, where we can accept their input about something we may have a blind spot for. And this is truly where real maturity and growth can occur. And this is definitely where we can end what they talk about in step 3. We can end that self-will run riot, which, I think the terminology for that's pretty bad, but basically we can end this living alone without the ability to trust, with the ghosts of the past and the future haunting us, and with these powerful thoughts destroying our ability to see reality. And now these thoughts are only powerful as long as they are stuck inside. And that's another thing we learn from this step, is that once we get them out, usually you've probably heard people say, well, this sounds silly now that I'm saying it. And isn't that just the way it is? So coming from somebody like me who was isolated all my life, I didn't have close friends who I shared very intimate thoughts with, at least not. I mean, I not in a way that wasn't somehow strategic or an effort to survive or to, propagate my survival in some way. And to be able to get honest is an immense relief, and it's an important thing. To be able to get honest with somebody means that we never have to go back to the way we were living. Never. Because we can get honest with somebody and we can accept whatever mistake I've made. I can look at the things in my makeup that caused me to do what I had done, and I could go about finding a solution. Well, none of that's possible if I don't have the ability to be honest. And fortunately or unfortunately, this also underscores the need that we have to bring someone into this intimate space. It doesn't have to be a partner. It doesn't have to be, if you're afraid of trusting people, I recommend using a therapist at first, because they have laws that guide them, saying that they cannot tell anybody what you told them, except in rare circumstances. Okay, so, and the same thing for like certain clergy. So this step, I think, is powerful. It's risky, but it's tangible. And when you're finished, there's a lot of different outcomes. I think some people have stated saying it was the first time they felt like a member of fellowship. There are sometimes the reaction that you feel like you're one among many, you feel like a human being. And then there's sometimes when, like, I've had this reaction where I've just thought, Jesus, I got a lot of work to do myself. I've not been a very decent human. So I've had that reaction too. But either way, it gives us our first cleansing, inner cleansing, adjusting the way we see the world, adjusting our perception, retuning us back into tune with reality. If you've ever heard a guitar play that was out of tune, that's how we sounded out in the world. And we do this step, we can start to get back in tune. And so the things that we produce start to be, more beautiful, harmonious music. All right, that's enough out of me. Hope you have a good day, and thank you for coming here. If you want more information, you can go to the website that's listed in the description. If you'd like to talk to me, you can send an email. It will only be anonymous. I won't reveal my identity because I want to be anonymous. But I will. But I'm happy to work with you. Okay.